Weapon skins are one of the worst additions to TF2 in the last 5 years. Yup, I just went there. Skins suck. Now look, I know a lot of you guys really do love both the original skins and the war paints alike, but personally, I'm more of a skeptic. I believe that while weapon skins are an amazing idea from the onset, they are so fundamentally flawed in their current implementation that something has to be said about them. Now, I'll admit I'm not actually the first person to make a video exposing skins. Back in November, fellow YouTuber German Peter made a video about the exact same topic, talking about both the pros and cons of skins in TF2, eventually settling on the somewhat controversial opinion that skins do more harm than good. He concluded that while skins vastly improve weapon customization, there are ultimately way too many of them being very ugly, against the art style, containing bugs, and just hard to distinguish from each other in combat. Now, for the most part, I actually agree with everything he said. As absurd as it might sound to some, I agree that while skins add great amounts of customization, they are not good for the overall game. However, I do have one big problem with German Peter's video, and it has to do with more of what he didn't say rather than what he did say. Because for me, the single biggest problem with weapon skins has nothing to do with conflicting art styles or over-the-top patterns. Instead, I'd argue that the biggest fundamental problem with weapon skins is the way they negatively affect the health of the TF2 economy. That being said, I feel it's necessary to take a second look at weapon skins and warpaints, this time however through the lens of an experienced trader rather than a more casual player. Alright, so without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Part 1. How skins negatively affect the TF2 economy. To explain everything that is to come in this video, I think it's just going to work best if I cut straight to the chase. The reason I think weapon skins are so bad for the economy is due to how incredibly infuriating these items are to trade. I mean, after you buy them initially, you'll find that they don't sell well at all on the classifieds or on trade servers, and many people outright refuse to accept them as payment when selling almost any other type of item. But why? After all, why are skins so hard to sell? Well, fundamentally, I believe that this can be boiled down to two main problems with the current implementation of weapon skins. Number 1, there are too many ugly skins, and number 2, there are too many factors that determine rarity for each individual skin. To start, let's take a look at my first point. Number 1, there are too many ugly skins. For sake of an example, let's assume that you decide to unbox some skin cases to try and get a couple of sweet new weapons for your high tier loadouts. Now, what do you think the chance is that you will get a number of items that you find very desirable and good looking on the classes that they're intended for? Well, as it turns out, the unfortunate answer is that that chance is very, very low. Why? Because of one simple thing. Wares. You know, the exterior pattern that rates each weapon either battle scarred, well worn, field tested, minimal wear, or factory new. As it turns out, wares only seem to turn the average weapon into something quite bad looking that you're probably not going to like. Now, for me, and tell me if I'm blatantly jumping to conclusions, cosmetic items should be something that you want to equip. They should be something that when you obtain, you immediately recognize that they are better looking than stock. But that's not necessarily the case with weapon skins. About half the time you get a new skin, you get a battle-scarred or well-worn weapon, a weapon with so many freaking scratches and obscurities that it looks like absolute garbage. Field-tested and minimal wear skins are passable, but they still look like something is visibly wrong with them. In my honest opinion, apart from a few weapons that become themed with scratches or blood marks, the only skins that actually look good are factory new, since they look like what the skin should actually look like. Now, I can already hear the typical response here. Ben, why are you complaining? Weapon skins must have wares. That's just how they were in CSGO, and they worked just fine. But let's pause here. Really, who said that weapon skins had to have wares? Yeah, nobody. Yes, wares do work well in CSGO, but that by no means infers that they should work well here in TF2. I mean, just think about it this way. Nobody is advocating for ugly battle-scarred or well-worn hats in TF2, so why the hell should it make sense for there to be an ugly battle-scarred or well-worn weapon? The way I see it, wares are just the fault of a game port gone wrong, and they turn most skins into unaesthetic messes. And don't even get me started on unusual weapons. Just like regular skins, the same exact problem here exists, except for now it is compounded tenfold by poor unusual effects. You see, after owning all 4 unusual weapon effects, I can say with perfect certainty that they are not even close to as cool as unusual taunt or hat effects. All the effects are comparatively quite small and faint, with 2 effects hot and cool being barely noticeable in the wrong lighting. On top of this, Valve actually retired the biggest and most noticeable effect, Energy Orb, for being, if I recall correctly, too buggy. While I do actually like the last effect, Isotope, it still isn't super flashy, meaning that overall you're really not going to get an unusual weapon effect that has the same wow factor as you might get from a sweet new unusual hat. Of course, when you combine bad effects with weapons that can often be found in the some scratches, a lot of scratches, and an absolute fuck ton of scratches qualities, most unusual weapons look absolutely, undoubtedly, garbage. Now, let me discuss the second reason why skins sell poorly. Number 2, there are too many factors that determine rarity for each individual skin. Since I basically coined the term right now, chances are you don't know what I'm referring to when I talk about factors that determine rarity. In essence, however, it's pretty simple. The way I see it, a factor that determines rarity is any part of an item that makes it more or less expensive. For typical hats, you have just 2. The quality, be it unique, strange, or unusual, and the tier, be it mercenary, commando, assassin, or elite. As many of you guys know, old cosmetics didn't even have tier, so they fundamentally just had one single factor that determined the item's rarity. For skins, however, this could not be more the opposite. For the typical skin, there's an absolute crap ton of factors that impact the item's rarity. For instance, you have to consider what weapon the skin is for, such as a shotgun or a rocket launcher, the skin pattern, the tier, as in mercenary, commando, assassin, or elite, the wear, such as minimal wear or factory new, and whether it is strange, unusual, or both. Then, on top of this, you can easily add festivizers, killstreak kits, and strange parts, adding an additional 3 factors. Basically, when you put this all together, there isn't just one version of any particular skin, but hundreds, if not thousands. Now, for some of you, this might seem like a positive. After all, isn't having more variations of each weapon great for customization? Well, yes and no. You see, just like German Peter argued, I believe that more customization is great. It allows you to build a very unique cosmetic loadout that few others have. However, customization in TF2 comes at a huge cost. In this case, the more customizable the items in TF2 are, the harder these same cosmetics are going to be to sell. This is proven to be a fundamental fact. Why? Well, because when you have items with literally thousands of possible permutations, it ends up being pretty freaking hard to find someone who wants an item as painfully specific as, say, a strange killstreak well-worn coffin nail scattergun with the heavy's killed strange part. Now, as a buyer of skins, you may not ever notice the problem. After all, you can always track down the skin you want to buy with relative ease, making it look like skins sell just fine. However, you have to think about this from the perspective of skin sellers. You see, for every skin that you purchase, there are at least 50 to 100 other skins out there with only slightly different customization that, due to being, say, well-worn and not field tested, will never ever sell and will sit on the classifieds or the Steam community market forever. Furthermore, with so many unique skins on the market, it becomes really hard for buyers to determine what parts of a weapon are good or not. For example, is being factory new better than being a commando grade? Does pattern or weapon theme add value? Is it relevant that an item has a unique scratch pattern? The questions go on, and when in doubt, a buyer will just shut down and choose not to purchase a skin. And this problem only gets worse when you factor in trading websites such as backpack.tf. Because there are literally thousands of possible skins out there, it should come as no surprise that the vast majority of weapon skins cannot be priced like normal items. I mean, how could you expect community members to wade through the mega quantity of unique skins out there to try and find recent sales? It is just not feasible. Now, whether you like to admit it or not, I firmly believe that Backpack.tf's pricing system gives stability and desirability to items by displaying a clear price next to each one. But because Backpack.tf cannot price skins like normal, it makes it much harder to pin down a legitimate price for most skins, making them unstable and outright undesirable for a huge chunk of the TF2 player base who really don't want to deal with risky items. Now, this doesn't mean that all skins have no value. They certainly do, it's just much harder to find in the traditional sense, and you'll often have to use the much less accurate Steam community market for pricing data. Now, if this sounds like it's going to be a rant against the Steam community market, it really isn't. For really inexpensive skins, the market isn't actually a horrible place to buy, sell, and price check. Because these cheap skins are very common, there are enough sellers out there and just enough buyers that the market can reach a nice equilibrium, letting it display an accurate price for the skin. However, when you start to get even just a little bit rare variants of skins, the whole system falls apart. For example, take a look at this assassin grade factory new current event scattergun. In the past month, there have been literally 2 sales, one at $28 and one at $10. Now, can you use this to get an accurate price for the weapon? Nope, not at all. And as such, if someone were to offer you this exact skin, you know what you would do? Yeah, you would refuse to trade for the skin because you have no idea what the hell to price it at. Alright, so those are the 2 main reasons why I think skins are so difficult to sell. Wares make them often quite ugly and undesirable, and their infinite customizability makes them impossible to value on almost any trading platform. Now, at this point, you may realize that I haven't meaningfully mentioned war paints, and I bet a lot of you guys are wondering, do these new skins fix the problems that I've already addressed, or do they make everything way worse? Well, let's find out. Part 2. Why war paints don't help, and what Valve should have done. Aw crap, I gave it away in the title. Well, as you just saw, I don't think war paints do anything good for the economy. In fact, I think they only exacerbate the problems that I've already addressed. Now, to be fair, for the advocate of customization, war paints are, as you can imagine, a strict upgrade to the old skins in every sense of the word. Instead of there only being a handful of different skin patterns for a couple of stock weapons, war paints have added over 30 brand new skin patterns that can be applied to almost any weapon in the game. Now, just like before, war paints are tiered, can be strange or unusual, and unfortunately still have wares. But, because they are so customizable, war paints must be an overall great addition to the game, right? Well, not at all from a trader's perspective. Remember how I said earlier that customization in TF2 comes at the cost of sellability? Well, I bet you can guess what is currently happening with war paints. If there wasn't already an absolutely insane number of possible unique skins before war paints released, there's about a gazillion now. I mean, let's just do some quick math. Right now there are about 40 war paints that can be applied to 44 TF2 weapons. There are 5 wares, a chance to be strange or not, and a chance to have one of 3 unusual effects. Putting this all together, there are a whopping 70,400 unique possible weapons, and that's not even including randomly generated skin textures or add-ons like killstreak kits, strange parts, or festivizers. Chances are I probably messed up on the math here somehow, but the point is still made. There are just way too many skins. And remember, when this many unique weapon combinations exist, you can't just price the items on Backpack.tf and have to instead go off sketchy Steam community market values. Furthermore, even if you do find someone who is willing to trade for a quote-unquote unpriced item, chances are that your skins are still so unique that nobody else wants them besides you, making them borderline impossible to sell. Now, to be fair, pre-applied war paints do sell alright, mostly because the number of unique paints is quite a bit smaller than the number of unique weapon combinations you could apply the paints to. However, I still don't think that this is good for the economy at all, since it creates a really depressing dynamic where once you apply a war paint to a weapon, the price and sellability of the item is cut in half. While sure, this was always the case with painted hats and cosmetics, the decrease in sellability is far more apparent and much more punishing in weapons, probably again due to the insane number of possible weapon permutations. Thus, while war paints might have a lot of hype on the outside, there is an absolute bloodbath going on below the surface. Now to me, I think the worst part about all of this is that it seems like there is little that can be done about it. Unlike the key to refined ratio, where the golden solution along the ever-shifting horizon is just to add a metal sink, it's pretty hard for Valve to undo the damage that they've already done with skins without huge problems arising. I mean, ideally, I think Valve should have implemented skins differently. I think that they should have ditched wares and war paints altogether, instead gravitating towards, say, weaponized versions of cosmetic cases, where skins would all be factory new and only had 2 rarity factors: their grade, whether it be mercenary, commando, assassin, or elite, and their quality, whether it be unusual, strange, or unique. They also should have had totally different unusual effects which were flashy and noticeable, like hat and taunt effects. While sure, this model is worse for customization, I still think the community would be happy. I mean, everyone survived well with festives only being available on a few weapons, and at worst you could just easily swap out a bad skin you didn't like for a better one, since they would all be easily priceable on backpack.tf and thus very easy to trade. The problem with all of this is that when Valve introduced skins, they didn't do this. Instead of carefully devising a system that would not only provide cool cosmetics, but also facilitate trading, they rushed out skins and war paints with little regard for the economical side of the game. All they cared about was pleasing the casual player, and because of this, they didn't anticipate or blatantly ignored the negative impact their current implementation of skins would have on the TF2 economy. Now, you might be wondering, why would it be so hard to try and quote-unquote hotfix skins? After all, couldn't Valve just patch the game to remove wares or add a whole new skin collection with the factory new cosmetic model that I talked about before? Well, unfortunately, it's not that simple. The problem with the first proposal is really pretty straightforward. Retroactively changing items worth real money is not a good precedent to set for any reason. Sure, it might make your battle-scarred skins go up in value, but it would also imply Valve has the power to arbitrarily change the price of other items, which could absolutely destroy people's trust in the TF2 economy if handled incorrectly. The problem with the second proposal is a little less obvious, but it comes down to trying to avoid making older items irrelevant. You see, if you add new cases with all factory new skins, suddenly everyone can get all the skins they want in factory new for a super cheap price. They no longer need to spend a fortune to get the skins they once had, and the market on high tier older skins would instantly crash into a heaping garbage fire as people rage about losing huge amounts of money, especially on older unusual weapons. At the end of the day, I think this would arguably cause more harm than good. Now, I do realize that I'm just one guy. Maybe I'm missing the bigger picture here. Maybe there is something Valve can do right now to fix this problem. Because of this, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section below. But for now, the future isn't looking too bright for skins. Because if Valve continues with their current implementation, they will continue to worsen and worsen the problem by adding exponentially more and more unique skins into the game, skins which, paradoxically for a game about trading, cannot really be traded. Thanks for watching. But wait, before I end the video, I want to let you guys know about an important announcement. Now, I know I should have done this a year ago, but I finally got around to creating an official Virtual Economist Discord server. Obviously, since the server is brand new, not everything is entirely set up yet, but I'd still highly recommend joining if you want trading advice from me or other experts, or just want a place to hang out with other people. The link will be in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment. I'll see you guys there.